All right. So we are live with everyone. Mide, can you hear me? So the
Yes,
last
yes, I
call, I
can.
think, yeah. So the last call, I think Mide was the one that anchored it. I wasn't like available. So today I'm going to be handling today's session. While Mide will not be the person that will be talking to you guys. All right, but generally, there's a bounty we currently have ongoing, and the aim of the bounty is I think it's two focused. The first one is for call it general developers, intermediate developers, and if you is there any other one? Okay, the cracked developers and all that, yeah. So but then I feel like it's also like basic, but then we should start with that. And the aim is for people to understand that it's not just about prompting, it's not just about building, it's about understanding like the best practices, security stuffs that are involved when shipping programs, right? So you could basically like prompt a program and you could actually like be having issues, especially when you deploy. There will be issues here where people could actually like exploit your code. There are places where people will be able to like do one or two things that might go wrong in your programs. So that's the reason why we actually like hosted the first bounty. So when you understand this, say you want to build internet capital market, you want to build the next stuff, you could actually like know how you are doing your stuff and all that. So it's just general talk. So also have like the beginners bounty where the conversation is more about we've been hearing gasless transactions, account abstraction, this one, that one. How could I actually pay for something with my token? How can I do this? How can I do that? And for most of us that have also been building on Solana, we've actually like had a whole lot of SDKs, a whole lot of tools that help us do that, right? Now, the first one, which is the intermediate one, is seriously like focused on Rust. While the second one, you could actually like build it with TypeScript, JavaScript, or whatever you want. And for the first one, you have like a whole lot of explanations. You also have a lot of videos. I don't have issues if you do your stuff with AI or whatever you want, but you'll be able to like explain whatever that you've done and whatever that you have going on in your program, right? So that's why it's actually simple but difficult. I call it difficult. So that is actually that's actually like the whole aim. So same with the second bounty, which is generally the beginner's bounty. I think is pretty much going to be like a straightforward stuff too. Where we'll be talking about Kora, right? Kora actually like abstracts the whole gas payments infrastructure for you and just is it create a server and you run your stuff easily and all that. So the whole aim of having this workshop is so that Mide would actually like walk us through like how you could actually like create a Quora server and be able to interact with it and see how this thing works in real time and then be able to like learn one or two things while at it and then be able to like ship something for the bounty, right? Yeah, Mide is not going to be participating. So anybody that did any of these workshops is not going to be participating in that particular topic. So obviously it's not that won't be fair by the way. So and basically I don't think you guys know me for that. So Mide, welcome to the stage. So I think I've done a lot of pep talk. So you talk to us about Quora. What does it entail? How does it take to actually like ship Quora, like the integration? What does it look like, and all that? So I want you to kind of do like a drop down or like a detailed information on how people could actually like do this. No, I'm not saying you should give them all the experts that they need for the bounty, but then you should kind of understand everything they need in integrating this stuff so that I think we'll have like great submissions. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for having me. Jam, everybody. I believe you guys can hear me. I would like to share my screen as well. Alex, if you can allow that, so I can just get started with things. Yeah, I believe my screen is visible now. Could you please help me confirm that? Is this? Can you see my screen, Alex? I want to be sure. Can you hear me, Alex? You're muted.
So your audio is good, everything is fine. I can see your screen and all that. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. GM everybody. I mean, Alex has already laid the foundation into what we're going to be discussing tonight. And it's simply running a Kora node. And you might be wondering, why should you even bother about that? Well, it is an entry um, level, or should I? No, not entry level, but it's a good entry point for you to approach the bounty that we currently have going on. Um, and the bounty is simply to build a bot that monitors and help Kora node operators reclaim rent fees, right? And the best way to approach is to simply understand how Kora itself works and how you can approach the problem or the bounty, right? So that's what we're going to be discussing here tonight, running the Kora node. So the next tab is what exactly is Kora? And now you might be wondering, what is Kora? How does it work? Um, how do I get to interact with it? Right. So to simply put it, or the simplest form of definition for it is that it is a fee abstraction layer for Solana that lets users pay for transaction fees with SPL tokens instead of SOL. All right. I want to believe that 99.9% of people on this stream already have experience. They already have blockchain experience, right? You necessarily don't need to be a dev before you understand this, right? As long as you've done something on Web3 or on the blockchain, this should be simple for you, right? So every blockchain network, they have a native token at which you use to pay for fees, right? So for Solana, it is so. And now, when you think about it, if you if you just come into the Web3 space as a newbie, or yeah, as a newbie, most times you don't understand these terms, right? Let's say you approach a bounty, you win a bounty, and you get rewarded, right? And they ask you to share your wallet address. You get the funds in your wallet address. Let's use USDC for example, right? You get paid in stable coins using USDC, and it's time for you to probably withdraw the money off ramp and spend, right? Then you would realize that you need some amount of so before you can initiate a transaction that withdraws that money, right? So that is the typical day-to-day activities of newbies whenever they come into the blockchain space and they earn for the first time, right? Most times you would often see messages probably in group chats, or maybe your friends, they'll be like, Alex, you get some Solana, will you give me? They are not asking for they are not asking for one soul or two soul. They're just asking for 0.5 or something, right? Just to
Yeah.
sign contractions. So, and that experience, it is not the best, right? It is not the best. And thankfully, Solana, as the consumer chain, we're always looking for ways to make the chain better, right? That is why the foundation came up with Kora, which is a paymaster that allows you to pay for transactions with SPL tokens instead of Solana. So if you're a newbie now, if you're using an app or a wallet that uses Kora, you most likely won't even need to request for SOL before you can make a transaction, right? So you have USDC. What will just happen is that you pay for fee using that USDC instead of SOL itself, right? So that's simply what Quora is, and that is how it works. For more technical people, it is a JSON RPC server that acts as a paymaster, sponsoring Solana transaction fees while accepting payments in tokens, your application, or node support. So again, we're going to get into the node. You understand what node is, how it works, and all of that. But that is what Quora is in general. So some example use cases where you would see Kora thrive is number one, neobanks, right? I already spoke about wallets earlier. Neobanks are a good example as well because you could use a neobank. A neobank could be an app that helps you do cross-border payments, and apps that help you spend your stable coins natively or something, right? Neobanks are they vary, right? And to maintain a good user experience, you need to make sure that your users are not in need of so before they can actually execute a transfer, right? If you're still doing that, then you need to like improve because this is not 2019 anymore. This is 2026, and the blockchain is a lot better. And now you can build better user experiences, right? Same applies to gaming. Imagine gaming, and you want to probably maybe perform an action, and you're seeing a pop-up that you need to connect wallet, or you need to um, or you need to sign a transaction or something, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? That would something that would usually take you one click on let's say a Web2 game, you now need to do like 3 clicks on a Web3 game, right? So it doesn't make any sense. With Kora, you can integrate it into your game in situations whereby users don't even have to sign transaction for certain things to happen. And I actually saw this implemented on Rust on Dead. Shout out to Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah. He demoed it to me. I was like, oh wow, this is nice. Because when you're playing gamers don't have the time to sign transaction, look for fees, do this one, do that one. They just want to like have the fun, right? So you can implement Kora into gaming to make the experience much more better. Um, there's liquid staking as well. So this one applies. This one is a little bit more technical because it involves you having uh, some type of so in your app. So if let's say we have Alex So, right? Alex has a liquid staking platform, right? And his LST token name is Alex So. Instead of users coming to Alex's LST to use So to sign transactions, they can use um, is LST token, which is Alex So, to sign transaction and perform basic activities, right? So again, you don't need Solana to perform actions to send transaction on Alex's platform, right? So you can just simply use is liquid stake token to carry out all of those actions. So there's loyalty rewards as well. Um, if you have certain users that you want to reward based on their performance, based on their volume, you want to reduce fees for them, Kora also plays a huge role. So these are some of the basic or example use cases where Kora shines. So the next one are the key features. So there are several things, but I've drafted it to this. So the first thing is it is secure, right? Um, and aside from it being audited, it is built in a way that it allows you enter some guards, right? So there are certain tokens that you might want to block from apps from using your node, right? So let's say you don't like a certain token, you don't want to use it, probably because of its volatility. You think when you help users pay and you get fees in that token, you might lose your money, right? So you can add those tokens mint address as under your blacklist or something, right? So there is that. There's also flexible pricing. Now, where this one comes in play is when users want to sign transaction. You don't want the transaction to be fixed, right? So if you set a fixed transaction, for example, and let's say the blockchain activity is very high, and obviously when activities or transactions are very high in the blockchain, the fee tends to skyrocket, right? So you don't want a situation whereby you fall short when users are using your node to act as paymasters, right? You want a flexible pricing whereby it matches the current price at that particular time that the user is sending the transaction. So there's another one, easy to deploy, very, very easy. There's just a documentation that we're going to go through together to see how it works, right? It is developer friendly. In fact, if you're just starting out, you really don't need to know too much. There are example codes that you can use to help you get started easily. And finally, it is production ready. That means you can integrate it into your apps. And like I said earlier, it's already implemented in Rust on Dead, at least something that we are more familiar with, right? So those are some of the key features. So how exactly does it work? We've spoken about the things it does, um, some of its benefits, where its use cases, and where it shines, and all of that. But then, how does it actually work behind the scene? So let's check it out. So this is a diagram that I saved from the documentation, and it basically demonstrates how it works, right? So over here is the user. So you can call this person the every day by day user on the Web3. Every single person on Web3, right? That are using Solana programs, for example, right? This is the person, right? This is the app which you're interacting with, right? Let's call this Rust Undead, for example. Um, this is Kora, which is a paymaster, and this is Solana and the blockchain itself. So there are like four people involved: the person interacting, the app, Kora, and Solana blockchain itself. So how it works is that as a user, let's say you want to initiate a transfer now. You use a wallet. Um, you want to initiate a transfer or a transaction, and the basic things you would normally do is enter the recipient's wallet address, the amount. Um, if it's on the same blockchain, you don't need to select network anymore. But let's say those are the basic things, right? You do all of that, and then you press on send. Now, when you do send, what you're doing is that you are initiating a transaction. You want this certain thing, this certain action to happen, right? So you initiate that transaction and you send it to your app. What your app does is that it looks at the transaction, it does its own check and all of that. But once it validates that that action can happen, it then generates a transaction that you can sign. So that transaction that your app generates, it will include the fee token transaction instruction. Again, this one will play when Kora comes in, right? So it generates a transaction that includes the fee token transfer instruction. Then it sends it back to you on the UI. Now you would typically see something like confirm or sign, or if it's a mobile app, it will probably pop up your touch ID or your face ID to execute that transaction, right? So once you do that, he then signs the transaction and he sends it back to the app. Now, what the app will do is that it will take that your signed transaction, he then communicates to Cora. And how it does that is takes it, goes and send the transaction to Cora, which the transaction is a partially signed transaction, right? It sends it to Cora, and what Cora does is that it validates that transaction. So let's say Alex is using an app that integrates Cora, for example, right? And I own the node that Alex wants to interact with. If Alex is sending USDC, but me, I don't want USDC. I only want maybe USDT or Bonk or something or Jupe or anything, right? But I don't want USDC. I've already set it in my Cora.toml file. If that transaction should come to my node, I would reject it, right? So that is where the validation happens. As long as I include the token or the mint address that I want, the validation will work. But if I do not include it in my Cora.toml file, it will reject it. So once the app sends that partially signed transaction from Alex to me, what I do is just validate it. And once it is validated, I then fully sign that transaction. Half of the transaction is coming from Alex, half is coming from me, the node owner. So once I combine the both of them, I send it back to the app. And what the app does basically is take that transaction and shoot it to the Solana blockchain. And what the blockchain does is simply confirm a transaction if it's valid, right? Then after the confirmation, the app basically shows a success notification on Alex end. Now, Alex has been able to send USDC without needing Solana at all, right? And what happens behind the scene is that Alex is sending his SPL token, which is USDC, to me, the Kora node operator. And what I'm doing after getting the USDC, at which is using to pay transaction fee, is that I'm sending so on behalf of Alex to the Solana blockchain so that that action can be carried out, right? So Solana itself does not know anything about um, it does not care, right? What it wants is just to receive its own soul to carry out that action, right? But Kora is acting as the middleman that helps me pay my fee in soul because I don't have it, right? So that's simply how it works. Um, I might need to take a few questions if there are any, um, but if not, I will go
And
straight.
I don't know if anybody will have a question yet, but like generally, if you just understand that Kora just was going to help you like perform like the whole gasless transaction stuff. So in reality, you can't actually like pay for your fees with SPL tokens. You need to pay for your fees with the Solana tokens, right? So, but now with the help of Kora, you're able to like actually like pay fees with any token that it's been allowed by a Kora node operator, right? So actually,
Yeah.
you can now use any token that they allow to pay those fees on the blockchain. So at the end of the day, all you have to know is that oh, I want to build an app that I don't want to pay gas fees with Solana token, or my users could actually just use anything to pay. Then it means you need like a man in the middle, and basically that man in the middle to help do that is Kora. So I think there are other like products that you could actually use, but I think Kora is the one that the foundation is actually built themselves. So basically, you be able to like trust it and do every other thing. But then, yeah, let's continue.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, Let me reshare my screen so we can basically see a
All right.
demo. Yes, so we can.
Let me bring down this one. When you share the other one, just
Yeah, I'm coming. Okay, let me just share the full screen, the entire screen, so
okay.
I don't have to stop and reshare again. So the best way to get started with Kora, um, when it comes to running a node, is simply the documentation, right? Is the best place. It is very easy to follow and easy to understand, right? So obviously, the first thing you need to do is to install the CLI. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay, cool,
I
cool,
can
cool.
hear.
So you need to install the CLI, and now the CLI runs on Rust, and obviously you need to have Rust installed. You need to have TypeScript as well, and Solana CLI, right? So these are the prerequisites, right? You need Rust, you need Solana CLI, and you need Node.js, right? And PNPM to interact with the SDK. Now, once you have all of this, you can install um, in two ways. You can use Cargo to install it as a package on your machine, or you can basically clone the old GitHub repository, right? If you prefer to like tweak things a little bit on your end,
Yeah.
probably to your preference or something, right? You can do that. But the ideal way is basically to use cargo install or Kora CLI to install the package on your machine. And once that is done, you can easily come to this page, which is Kora Quick Start Guide. Um, I have done most of the things here. I have installed Kora RPC already using the cargo install, and I've also cloned the GitHub repository. So, but let me see. Uh, Let me open it. Where's my VS Code acting up? Well, let's visit the project repository. This is exactly what we're cloning. Um, this is the app itself, but what we are asked to clone, if you want to run a node, right, is inside the example directory. So I'll open that. We'll use the getting started directory again. Then inside that there's a demo folder. So this is where the actual action happens. Now after that, there are files there that you need to be aware of. So there is setup.ts, there's quick start, there's full demo, and there is a server directory. And what basically happens is that setup sets up your your local machine, right, to be able to run the Kora node. I don't know why my VS Code is not opening, but my village people are not succeeding this evening. So it contains everything you typically need. Um, so create default transaction, sign and send transaction, sign and confirm instruction. So this is a bit technical, and you don't need to know, or really you need to know, yeah, right, but you don't need to like really write code anymore if you want to run the node, because this example actually helps solves a lot of writing of code, right? So it's more like a template that you can clone and run on your machine. So setup again contains setup instructions. It helps create a token pair, initializes a token, a demo token actually, and yeah, that's basically what it does. So the quick start file is basically running the node itself, right? Um, then there's a server. The server contains configurations that you want your Kora node to carry out, right? So the Kora.toml is where you set things that you want. So there is max allowed import lamport, signatures, price source. This is set to mock, but if you have other price sources like Jupyter, you would typically need to update this, like change it from mock to Jupyter, for example. And these are the allowed programs. These are things you should be familiar with already if you have done anything on Solana. So the first one is the system program, the token program, the ATA program, address lookup. I mean, there are a lot. There's a memo program as well, and compute budget program also. Now, this is where the actual action would happen if you're running a node. There is allow tokens, right? So these allow tokens are tokens that you want people to use to send you fees in place of Solana, right? You're helping them pay in so, but you are allowing them to pay you in that SPL token, right? So, for example, USDC, USDT, um, same thing applies to this place, and it can be an array, right? More than one token, right? If you want to support several tokens, right, you can just add their mint address over here. And disallowed accounts are basically accounts that you don't want to pay fees for, or you don't want to interact with, right? So this is you setting up things you want and things you don't want. Just leave that way. Um, Over here, there is signers.toml. Basically, what this does is know who is going to be signing the transaction, right? The wallet that will be signing the transaction. So it will be your ENV file, obviously. So from your ENV, it's going to import it and know who the transaction signer is. So that is it. But let me see if this still open again.
I don't really like a server on the side. Maybe that's why the stuff is not opening. Your VS Code.
Well, I'm not running any server actually. I think it needs to be updated. I think it needs to be updated. Well, I updated it some days ago, I guess, for the January updates that they released. But
Okay.
yeah, but the most important thing is me running um, some command
Generic.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done this touch env. This is my env file. Basically, it contains the public address and also some addresses that you would typically need. Again, you don't need to do these things yourself. Just follow the documentation. The setup .ts file will help you automatically set all of these things up, right? Um, so next thing after cloning the repo is to install it. Again, I've done the installation. You don't need to install any other thing again. I don't need to do it, but when you're doing it on your end, you obviously need to install those packages. And it's important that you include this ignore workspace. It's a block I faced when running mine, but after including it, it fixed all the errors that I had. So, so first thing to do to run the server or the node itself is to run a Solana test validator on your machine. So this will allow you to run Solana actions locally. So you don't have to go to the mainnet or something before you can carry out actions. So this is the test validator running right now. It's currently initializing. So let's just give it a minute for it to complete. Okay, yeah, so it's done now. Um, that is done. The next one is to initialize the environment. And what we'll do is just do pm init env. What it does basically is this guy right here. So if you open the package.json, you'll see that the init env carries out this action, the setup.ts file. Again, the setup.ts file basically creates a test wallet address that you can use to sign transaction, the a test mint address as well. Since this is local net, you obviously won't be interacting with actual money. But what it does basically is set up everything that you would need to run these actions locally. So I'll use the second tab from my terminal to execute this. So doing that now, okay, yeah, it's already done. But yeah, that is it. So starting setup, blah blah blah, initialize token. This is a test token address, or a mint address rather. And yeah, so a mint account created and initialized. This is the signature. If we search this on the Explorer, we would see that the mint account was actually created and initialized. And this is the address, right? So that is done. The next thing to do is to add that mint address to this place, right? Again, these are the tokens you would allow users to pay whenever they are using your paymaster or your node, right? So we'll update that. What is it? HGQV. So what I need to do? Oh shit, this thing is not opening. But you know what? Let's go on. Let's try it. Let's hit up block us. So that is done, and there's an optional um, action that you might need to carry if you want to receive payment or something. But this is totally out of scope, so we'll just be skipping it for now. And the last thing we'll be doing is starting the server itself, right? And the command to start the server itself is basically Kora rpc start signers config. So this signers config basically is pointing to where your config file is. So remember this file right here that looks for your signer, that initializes your signer. It is what will actually help you run the node, right? And what that command does is basically look for this file right here. So even if it is not in the server directory, whatever place it is, right, you need to point it directly to where the file is. If you don't do that, your node won't be able to run, right? So we have to copy the command and basically run it. Um, okay, this is the second one. Let me use the third tab. Let me clear this and then run the command. So here we go. There are some warnings where let's just try and read one of them. Fee payer policy allows token 20 to initialize multi-sig instruction. Risk users can make the fee payer part of multi-sig account. This can create unwanted signing obligations. Blah 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 blah. Again, this is directly talking about our Kora Tomo setup. So you'd see that what's the name again? Uh, Allow initialize mint false. Uh, Allow initialize. So this is allow initialize mint. Um, Basically, you need to like be aware of all of these things, right? Um, Go through the documentation. I mean, this is if you want to go mainnet, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you want to go mainnet, there is a guide that would help you. So yes, this is the configuration directory, and what it will do is basically direct you on things you need to be aware of, how to set it up properly. But regarding the bounty, you necessarily don't need to do all of these things, right? You just need to know how Quora works, how the node pays, and then how you can approach what the bounty asks you to do, right? So let's go back so we can continue. Now I have the node running, um, and to just run the demo from the client end, all you really need to do is copy pnpm start, and I'll be using the last tab. Let me clear this. So that should start our node, our Quora node, right? So it's currently running now. Um, we can see price source. This is set to mock. Again, this can be updated to Jupyter for you to get like accurate pricing. So these are some of the methods from your configuration. Get config true, get blockers true, allow the SPL tokens, allow SPL pay tokens, and basically you don't need to do too much actually. The fee payer is that wallet that was generated when running the setup command, right? And everything is just being in place for you. And if you want to go mainnet, there is also a guide that would help you to deploy using Railway, right? So this is Railway. Sorry, are you
No,
referring to?
continue, continue,
Okay.
continue.
So this is Railway. Um, it contains step-by-step guide for you to like deploy and make sure that your server is running. Um, and people can basically integrate your paymaster, right? So that's simply it. Running the node is nothing difficult at all. Again, even because my VS Code is not opening, I'm able to run all these actions, right? So that shows how easy to integrate the Quora node is. So I think I'm going to be ending here right now, um, but I'm still here for questions. And yes, that's it. That's it from me.
Okay, so I was just kind of, I won't say reading through the comments, but I saw somebody say there are some warnings that is everywhere, and I'm like, come on now, we are just doing the demo directly from like the repo. So that's why you actually like go in, see what the problem is, and try to fix up some things. But honestly, like I guess anybody that kind of joined in this workshop should be able to like have a little understanding of what Kora is, how you could actually like start building on top of it for the bounty, what you could actually build out, and the two sets that are actually like needed. So generally, all you need to do is to like know what to set up, know the accounts to look out for, the ones that you want to take in and the ones you don't want to take in. If you want to go as far as building an app that will test your what do you call it, that will test your node, fine, or whatever you want to do, go extra mile and do whatever. But generally, I think that is it for the call. I think is this the short for? Is this one short? Unlike the last one that you guys had, I don't know. But then maybe it's because the VS Code wasn't working. So, but then generally we will be having like more of these. Maybe someday we'll talk about some of that thing. But then let's just call it a night, guys. So, Mide, thank you very much for joining in. So if you have question regarding to the bounty, if you have question regarding to like Kora, you have question regarding to like what you want to build, technical or not technical, you could always like share it in the developers chat or just tag Spartan Nigeria and tag me and we'll get to it. But yeah, thank you guys for like joining in. I was about to join with my other account because my laptop battery was almost going down. So but thank God we are done. So yeah, let's get to it. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, bye.